Hare Krishna, welcome to our podcast. Now we start. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tata Jayam Udiret Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Today we continue Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13. Dhritarashtra quits home. Shloka number 30 to 32. Patim prayantam subalasya putri.
पतिं प्रयान्तं सुबलस्य पुत्री
Pativrata cha anujagam satvi.
पतिव्रता च अनुजगाम साध्वी
Himalayam nasta danda praharsham.
हिमालयं न्यस्तदण्डप्रहर्षम्
मनस्विनाम इव सत्संप्रहारः
मनस्विनाम् इव सतसंप्रहार
अजात शत्रुः कृतमैत्र हुताग्निः
अजातशत्रुः कृतमैत्रौ हृत अग्निः
विप्रान्नत्वा तिलगो भूमिरुक्मै
विप्रान्नत्वा तिलगो भूमिरुक्मैः
गृहं प्रविष्ट गुरुवन्दनाय
गृहं प्रविष्टः गुरुवन्दनाय
न च अपश्यत् पितरौ सौबलिं च
न च अपश्यत् पितरौ सौबलीं च
तत्र सञ्जयम् आसीनं
तत्र सञ्जयम् आसीनं
प्रपृच्छ उद्विग्नमानसः
पप्रच्छ उद्विग्नमानसः
गावल्गणे क्व नः तातः
कावल्गणे क्व नः तातः
वृद्धः हि न च नेत्रयोः
वृद्धहीन च नेत्रयोः
पतिं प्रयान्तं सुबलस्य पुत्री
पतिं प्रयान्तं सुबलस्य पुत्री
पतिव्रता च अनुजगाम सात्वी
पतिव्रता च अनुजगाम साध्वी
हिमालयं नस्तदण्ड प्रहर्षं
हिमालयं न्यस्तदण्डप्रहर्षम्
मनस्विनाम इव सत्संप्रहारः
मनस्विनाम् इव सतसंप्रहारः
अजात शत्रौ कृतमैत्रौ ताग्निः
अजातशत्रुः कृतमैत्रः हुत आग्निः
विप्रन्नत्वा तिलगो भूमिरुक्मैः
विप्रान्नत्वा तिलगो भूमिरुक्मैः
गृहं प्रविष्ट गुरुवन्दनाय च
गृहं प्रविष्ट गुरुवन्दनाय न
च अपश्यत् पितरौ सौबलिं
च अपश्यत् पितरौ सौबलीं च
तत्र सञ्जयम् आसीनं
तत्र सञ्जयम् आसीनं
पप्रच्छ उद्विग्नमानसः
पप्रच्छ उद्विग्नमानसः
गावल्गणे क्व नः तातः
कावल्गणे क्व न तातः
वृद्धः हि न च नेत्रयोः
वृद्धहीनः च नेत्रयोः
पतिं प्रयान्तं सुबलस्य पुत्री पतिव्रता च अनुजगाम सात्वी हिमालयं नस्तदण्ड प्रहर्षं मनस्वी नाम इव सत्संप्रहार अजात शत्रुकृत मैत्र होताग्निः विप्रान्नत्वा तिलगो भूमि रुक्मै गृहं प्रविष्ट गुरुवन्दनाय न च अपश्यत् पितरौ सौबलिं च तत्र सञ्जयम् आसीनं पप्रच्छ उद्विग्नमानसः गावल्गणे कन तात वृद्धहीन च नेत्रयोः
हरे
ट्रांसलेशन
कृष्ण पतिं प्रयान्तं सुबलस्य पुत्री पतिव्रता च अनुजगाम साध्वी हिमालयं न्यस्तदण्डप्रहर्षं मनस्विनाम् इव सतसंप्रहार अजातशत्रुः कृतमैत्रो हृत आग्नि विप्रान् नत्वा तिलगो भूमिरुक्मेः गृहं प्रविष्ट गुरुवन्दनाय च अपश्यत् पितरौ सौबलीं च तत्र सञ्जयमासीनं पप्रच्छ उद्विग्नमानसः गावल्गणे क्व नस्तः तातः वृद्धहीनश्च नेत्रयोः.
Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The gentle and chaste Gāndhārī, who was the daughter of King Subala of Kandahar or Gāndhāra, followed her husband, seeing that he was going to the Himālaya Mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisance, grains, cows, land, and gold to the brāhmaṇas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncles or aunt, the daughter of King Subala. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, full of anxiety, turned to Sañjaya, who was sitting there, and said, "O Sañjaya, where is our uncle, who is old and blind?" Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Subalini or Gāndhārī, daughter of King Subala and wife of King Dhritarashtra, was ideal as a wife devoted to her husband. The Vedic civilization especially prepares chaste and devoted wives, of whom Gāndhārī is one amongst many mentioned in history. Lakshmiji Sita Devi was also a daughter of a great king, but she followed her husband, Lord Ramchandra, into the forest. Similarly, as a woman, Gāndhārī could have remained at home or at her father's house, but as a chaste and gentle lady, she followed her husband without consideration. Instructions for the renounced order of life were imparted to Dhritarashtra by Vidura, and Gāndhārī was by the side of her husband, but he did not ask her to follow him because he was at that time fully determined, like a great warrior who faces all kinds of dangers in the battlefield. He was no longer attracted to so-called wife or relatives, and he decided to start alone. But as a chastised lady, Gāndhārī decided to follow her husband till the last moment. Mahārāja Dhritarashtra accepted the order of Vanaprastha, and at this stage, the wife is followed to remain as a voluntary servitor. But in the sannyasa stage, no wife can stay with her former husband. A sannyasi is considered to be a dead man civilly, and therefore the wife becomes a civil widow without connection with her former husband. Mahārāja Dhritarashtra did not deny his faithful wife, and she followed her husband at her own risk. The sannyasis accept a rod as the sign of the renounced order of life. There are two types of sannyasis: those who follow the Mayavadi philosophy headed by Shripad Shankaracharya accept only one rod, Ekadanda, but those who follow the Vaishnavite philosophy accept three combined rods, Tridanda. The Mayavadi sannyasis are Ekdandi Swamis, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are known as Tridandi Swamis, or more distinctly Tridandi Goswamis, in order to be distinguished from the Mayavadi philosophers. The Ekdandi Swamis are mostly fond of the Himalayas, but the Vaishnava sannyasis are fond of Vrindavan and Puri. The Vaishnava sannyasis are Narottamas, whereas the Mayavadi sannyasis are Dhiras. Mahārāja Dhritarashtra was advised to follow the Dhiras because at that stage it was difficult for him to become a Narottam. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was the most pious king because he personally practiced daily the pious duties for the householders. The householders are required to rise early in the morning, and after bathing, they should offer respect to the deities at home by prayers, by offering fuel in the sacred fire, by giving the brāhmaṇas in charity land, cows, grains, gold, etc., and at last offering to the elderly members due respects and obeisance. One who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the Shastras cannot be a good man simply by book knowledge. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely to rise late and then take bad tea without any sort of cleanliness and without any purificatory practices as mentioned above. The household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides toward hell. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic person may take lesson from a sadhu like Vidura and thus be cleansed of the effects of modern life. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, however, could not find in the palace his two uncles, namely Dhritarashtra and Vidura, along with Gāndhārī. the daughter of King Subal. He was anxious to see them and therefore asked Sañjaya, the private secretary of Dhritarashtra. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam ena tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam स्थापितम एन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवाञ्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्विताञ्च नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा. We continuing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13. Dhritarashtra quits home. Shloka number 32. Here they describing or discussing about the Dhritarashtra and Gāndhārī, how they give up their palace without telling Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj. And when Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj in the morning, after doing his daily ritualistic, when he entered to take blessing from his Tau and Tai, but there he had not seen them there. Then he asked Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj personal assistant Sañjaya, and what they asked we discuss tomorrow. Today these points Prabhuji will tell us in detail.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, being advised by Vidurji, Dhritarashtra was spiritually blinded because of his attachment to the materialistic way of life. His eyes were opened. And what did he do? He immediately decided to leave everything. He proceeded to north, which indicates that he had taken renunciation and he wanted to undergo self-realization. Now, when Gāndhārī, about whom we read even previously, how chaste she was, how gentle she was, how she was the daughter of King Subala of Kandahar, which is now called as Kandahar also. So, she decided to follow her husband. Now, you already know that even previously when she came to know that her husband is blind, she took up artificial blindness and had her eyes closed with clothes. Now, when someone is going, then ideally renunciation is a delight. If someone is accompanying, if a staff is accompanying them. So it's like if in a war or a fight, we have had a beating by the enemy, and still our staff is ready with us. It is delightful. So similarly, when someone is going on Vanaprasthashram and the wife is accompanying, it would be a delight. Now, when this decision was done, look at Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira. Now, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, we already know, he had won the war. So it is declared that his enemy was never born. Now, there are two reasons why this statement comes, which we'll discuss. But look at what is the daily lifestyle which he is trying to teach us through this shloka. He woke up, he performed his daily morning duties, praying, offering sacrifice to the sun god, offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, gold to the brāhmaṇas. And then he entered the palace to pay respects to the elder. But then when he went, he did not find his uncle or aunt. So he was anxious. So when you see that your near and dear ones are not there, you feel anxiety. Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, though Dhritarashtra had been so much of a cause of trouble for him, was still respectful towards his uncle. And since he was not seeing both of them, he was anxious. And Sañjaya was sitting there. And he asked Sañjaya, Sanjay ji, where is our uncle? He's old, he's blind. Where is he? Look at the dedication which is showing. So Prabhupada ji gives us a very wonderful purport explaining to us the science behind this shloka. Now, when it comes to the upbringing of kids, it is very important that we teach them the principles of Vaishnavism right from the young age. So here, specifically Prabhupada ji using the example of Gāndhārī, who is also called as Subalini because she was daughter of King Subala, is showing how her upbringing was done, which made her an ideal wife devoted to her husband. So the child is prepared to be chaste and devoted wife right from the childhood. And history is full of such examples. Gāndhārī is just one amongst the many. Now Sita Devi, we know she was a daughter of a great king. But then she also followed Lord Ramchandra into the forest. She was not ordered for going into the forest. It was only Lord Rama who had to be given 14 years of exile in forest. But Sita Maiya, she followed him. That is what a true wife is. Whether happiness or sorrow, success or defeat, the wife is always with the husband and vice versa. So here also we find Gāndhārī, ideally considering her old age, she could have remained at her palace with Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj, or she could have gone to her father's house. She had both the options open. But then she followed her husband without any considerations. This shows her chasteness, her gentility. In fact, what are the instructions for renounced order of life? Though they were imparted to Dhritarashtra by Vidura, Gāndhārī was also by the side of her husband and she had also understood those instructions. Vidurji never asked Gāndhārī to follow him because he was at that time fully determined, like a great warrior who faces all kinds of dangers in the battlefield, to somehow make his elder brother understand. And Dhritarashtra, when he understood this whole knowledge, he was no longer attracted to relatives or even to his own wife. And so he decided to start alone. But Gāndhārī she was following the real Dharma. And so she decided to follow her husband. Maharaj Dhritarashtra accepted the order of Vanaprastha. And in Vanaprastha, as we have been seeing previously in our discussions, in this third ashram, the wife is allowed to remain as a voluntary servitor to the husband. So when we are going to be taking Vanaprastha, we are going to leave our family homes. We are going to go on pilgrimage, and our spouse will accompany us. And then after some time, we'll come back to see that everything is well settled at home. No issues. And then we'll again go back. We'll again strengthen our Vanaprastha and increase our dedication to take up sannyasa. And when we have reached that decision, we again come back home. We have a spouse stay with the children, and then we take sannyasa ashram. Because in sannyasa stage, a wife cannot stay with her former husband. Ideally, a sannyasi, because he leaves behind his whole family, is considered to be a dead man civilly. So the wife in that situation is considered a civil widow. So this is a concept which our Shastras have been telling us. So when Maharaj Dhritarashtra was going, since it was his Vanaprastha ashram, he could not deny his faithful wife. And so she was allowed to follow her husband at her own risk. Now we would have seen the sannyasis, the Maharaj, who come, and we see that they have accepted a rod as a sign of the renounced order of life. So Prabhupada ji makes us understand about this Ekadanda and Tridanda philosophy. So Mayavadi philosophy, only Ekadanda is allowed. But the Vaishnavas, the three combined rods, Tridanda. So Vaishnava sannyasis are Tridanda Swamis, Tridanda Goswamis, while those from the Mayavadi philosophy, they are the Ekadandi Swamis. So Ekadandis are mostly found of the Himalayas. They like to go to the Himalayas and do all the sadhana out there. But the Tridandis, they like to take shelter of Krishna in Vrindavan and Puri. So they are the Narottamas, while the Mayavadi sannyasis are the Dhiras. Now Dhritarashtra was asked to go to the north because at that stage it was difficult for him to be a Narottama. So that is the difference and why he went to the Himalayas and not to say Vrindavan. In our case, since we have already been those lucky living beings who have been introduced to Krishna consciousness, who have understood that we are not this body, we are the soul, who have understood our eternal position is service to Krishna. So for us, taking shelter of Vrindavan, taking shelter of Jagannath Puri is what is recommended. Now, Prabhupada ji, when he was not well, many times, in old age especially, he was advised multiple times that why don't you go and settle down in Vrindavan? But then he said, no, my work is not over. And he kept on visiting so many countries, so many places, preaching Krishna consciousness under the order of his Guru Maharaj, his divine grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. Because they had to fulfill the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jare Dekha Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. And then somehow, see Krishna's Leela. He was at Vrindavan when he actually understood he was about to leave the body. But then he never stopped his preaching activities. Till the last moment, he was translating. That is the sign of a pious, empowered soul of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We also need to develop such dedication. Dhritarashtra had Vidurji who convinced him, who guided him. So he left. In our lives, we have Guru Maharaj, we have got Srila Prabhupada, we have got Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we have got Narottam Das Thakur. We have prepared so much of literature to guide us. We just have to take the right step in the right direction. Now, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira is showing how pious duties of a householder are. We have to rise early in the morning, we have to bath, we have to offer respect to the deities at home, we have to offer fuel to the sacred fire, we have to give charity to the brāhmaṇas, whatever our capacity be. We have to offer respects, obeisances to the elderly members of the family. So these are the injunctions which are prescribed in Shastras. And if you are not ready, if you are not prepared to practice them, then a good man simply can be a book knowledge. The modernity science that we are seeing is we raise late in the morning. We are trained to have bed tea without any sort of cleanliness, without purificatory practices. And the children, they practice what the parents practice. And so there is only deterioration, generation after generation, and the path is leading only towards hell. Nothing good can be accepted nor expected when they are following such practices. So ideally, the materialistic persons, since we are trained, we have been like Dhritarashtra, we should also take lessons from a sadhu like Vidura and cleanse the effects of modern life. So Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, when he could not find his palace, his uncle, his aunt, was anxious. He became very anxious, and so he asked Sañjaya about the whereabouts of his relatives. So these shlokas, they have got many key lessons for us. The important being how the role of a devoted wife has to be, how we have to undergo renunciation, how Himalayas is a symbol of detachment, what is the dharma of a householder and a ruler as well, how material life is full of uncertainties because the sudden disappearance of Dhritarashtra and Gāndhārī, that makes us remind of the material relationships being temporary and subject to passage of time. The other key lesson is also search of truth. So we have to always be in search of truth. That is what is important. And the last but not the least is attachment and detachment. So though Yudhiṣṭhira is spiritually advanced soul, he had maintained a proper balance between emotional ties and detachments. And even great personalities, even they experience emotional turbulence, which teaches us that emotions are part of our normal life, human life. So let us embrace the responsibility. Let us support everyone in spiritual endeavors. Focus on detachment from material life, fulfilling our duties with sincerity, understand the impermanence of material relationships, take care of our elders, remain compassionate, and develop inner detachment as well. Thank you very much.